Welcome to this video on Solid Edge 2025 mechanical design updates. This is the first main video, and there will be smaller, more in-depth videos coming in the near future. So the agenda for this, we're going to look at the changes in user interface, part modeling, assembly modeling, drawings, PMI and MBD. PMI is product manufacturing information and MBD is model-based definition. CAD Direct, translation and licensing. So first we're going to have a look at user interface. So some of the icons, you can see the images in the top right hand corner. We've got the old ones and the new ones. So now we use SVG vector-based icons. So rather than them scaling up and getting pixelated, they retain exactly what they look like. Also smaller file size for here as well. Docking pane, so now we've got modernized icons in the bottom two images. So you can see the home icon is a folder with a home, and we've now got all the colors the same as the rest of the Siemens colors that we've got on there. Okay, dialog size optimization. So we've reduced the size of the parts list properties and drawings view properties dialog to improve accessibility and available options on there. So you can see the previous one on the left and then the new one on the right. So we can see that rather than having tabs at the top, we've now got those as little options on the side for us to go down. It takes a while to get used to this, but once you get used to this, it's the same as it was before, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Dialog search. You'll notice, just jumping back to here, you can see we've got search in here now. So we've got search has been added to quite a few extra options. So here we can see when we're editing a draft view, we can see that we've got the option to go and search the settings on here. These have been added to the following dialog boxes: drawing view properties, parts list properties, wiring table properties, tolerance table, block table, family of parts table, bend table, hold table, user defined table, and modify dimension styles. Next, we've had a search has been added to the modify face style dialog box. So you can hear when we go to the modify, we've got an option where we can go and search. So if we want to forget doing something to do with diffuse, we can go and search that, and that's going to go and take us and highlight the area that we want to go and search in. Let's do another search for color, and we can see we've got color, and we can go and see all the options where we can go and change the color on there. Also got it in the material table. So when we're looking for material, so if we're going to search for aluminium, we can go in there, and then we can scroll down in there, and then when we select the one, once we've found the one that we want, that's going to highlight exactly where that is, and allow us to go and click on that. If we close the search, that's going to keep us where we are. Also in the recent documents box, so you can hear if we go and search for the recent document, that's going to go and find the component that we've got on there. If we close the search and do another one, we're going to go and see that from the recent documents on there. Input validation error message. So you can see the new yellow boxes on these. So a new error message. So there's many input fields that are going to kind of give us an error. So this is going to kind of give us a little bit more information. So we can see it can't be blank on this one, and the one on the right tells us the range that we want. Rather than just giving us a little yellow error triangle, it's going to actually give us a little bit more meaningful information on here. Vertical command bar. So there's been quite a few of these command bars. So these came in 23, updated in 24, and updated again in 25. So to try and make them a little bit smaller, you can see direction and type in this extrude one are now going left to right rather than top to bottom. So we're kind of minimizing it a little bit. So we can see this has changed in both the ordered, the synchronous mode, and the assembly environment. You'll see certain other ones, such as like the pan command, has kind of been made to look like this new one as well. So we've got icons for important options. So you can see the operation at the top. We've got icons for automatic add remove, add cut, and add body, and then extend, single, two-way, and symmetric, and then type through next, through all, from to, and defined. We can see we've also options in the lower down with the from and to surface. Let me just use the mouse so you can see here. This will show what we've selected, so we can deselect those. These have been used in quite a few places, So if there's multiple options, we can click a little arrow and go and see those and choose to select to go and deselect those directly as we're going on there. You can see extent. So if we do our non-symmetric backwards and forwards extent, I'll refer to as A and B extent on there, this will allow us to go and show those and show all the options all in one go as well. You can also see where we've got our treatment parameters for our draft and crown. That dialog box has now been merged into here without having a separate dialog box that normally opens up in the far top left of the screen on there. Improvements and resizing of this. So as we go and resize this, so we can see, this is development 1 still showing the code on this, but we can see as we go and make it bigger or smaller, we can see the text is going to change, and we can go and make that narrower if we need to as well. So as we reduce it, everything is going to kind of get smaller on there. So it allows us to use this on different smaller, larger screens, different resolutions, etc. Okay, rearranging vertical buttons in horizontal buttons. So certain vertical command bars have been slightly tweaked so the vertical buttons that were part of a group are now arranged in a horizontal style along with a label next to it. So kind of removing some of the little drop-down extra options that we've got. So mirror copy feature, duplicate section, normal cutout, drag component, move component have all had this change done. Arranging buttons this way provides a much clearer indication of all the options available to the user for a particular step. More virtual command bars will be tweaked and redesigned in future releases on here. So yeah, we've just got a little bit neater on there. Minimize and restore vertical command bar. So we've got a button at the top, so we can go and minimize this, and then we can just click on the blue bar, and that's going to go and bring it down temporarily. And if we click back on the square, that is going to allow that to go and lock back in and give us a line to show that that is kind of like the little pin auto hide button that we've got in other areas of the software. So the revolve command has also had this done as well. This is actually really useful. I found in 2024 when we were doing revolve, it would automatically do a 360 and you'd have to go to extent. Now the extent will automatically be available, and you can easily just say, well, I want that to be a finite, and go and put your value in on there. So all the icons are there. It will take a little while to get used to what the icons are. We can still hover over them while we're learning, but once we've learned, we're going to find this much quicker, hopefully. You can also see assembly features rather than having a separate dialog box. We've got the option for the 3 options: assembly features, assembly-driven part features, and part features, where it all gets pushed down into the part on there. So, and we've got an option to go and prompt for this as well when we're doing this. So, yep, you can see the icons in here are showing on there, and the selected options are quite useful as well. So when you use that, you can clearly see what has been selected, and we can highlight over there, and that will show. And the green tick accept button, which we still use our right mouse button, is kind of available in there as well. Okay, rearrangement of the options in 2D Select Tool. This was mine and probably a lot of other people's annoyances, that this dialog box, when we were in sketch and drafting, popped up, you closed it, it would reappear again, you resized it, it would come back to the full size, and it would always be in the way of the screen. So Siemens have listened, and they have put all these up into here. So a lot of these commands are now available in here. So rectangular fence is in there. Lasso, we can do that with Shift anyway, so we don't really need that in there. And then the options are all in the select drop-down box on there. So everything that we would have chosen has all been popped into there. So that's a much better way of doing it. We'll see that in a bit more detail when I do the actual hands-on section on here. Redesign vertical command bar for the whole command. It's been redesigned in all environments for the whole, ordered, synchronous, and assembly environment. So you can see much neater using the same extent options that we've got on the others. And the main whole dialog box, which we don't want to change that. It's been like this for years, so we want this to be the same. So we've just updated the icons on there. And the whole circle command has been neatened a little bit, so we just go into there for the options. Chamfer command as well, so redesigned, so all the options are now available rather than having a separate dialog box that pops up, allows us just to go and choose our equal distance and angle, or two distances on there, or setback and angle, setbacks on there, etc. For assembly features, we've got the dialog box here, no separate dialog box. And when we go and select those, we're going to see the options where we can select them, choose a drop down, and it will allow us to show edge 1, edge 2, edge 3, and deselect those from there rather than having to use control and select the edges, which testing that, I found that to be really useful. Quick enhancement, non-symmetric extent for extrude and revolve commands. So there's been an updated UI for non-symmetric extent on the extrude command. So it's kind of all available, and we can just add and show which one we want to have a look at. If we've got enough room, we can obviously show both of them if we need to on there. Vertical command bar for the balloon command. So redesigning this for the part environment, the assembly, and the draft environment. So it means that our kind of text is in the box rather than having a little box we've got to do and then it popping up. It's all been embedded within there as well. Reference geometry rather than a separate dialog box again. Everything's just laid out a little bit nicer. Kind of the 22 one felt nice. 23 and 24. It kind of changed over, but now we've got everything looking nice, easy, clear, and very easy to work with now. So a few more images from that. Clarity of the UI for the user, easy. You can see what it is clearly with the text. Display the selections, so choose a drop down, see what edges we've done on there. Text dialog box, no longer a separate, it used to be a prefix dialog box. Now we can just go and decide what those are going to be, and then the same on here. So when we're doing these link to parts list, we can decide what they are. We don't have to hover over. If we don't do this regularly, we're not sure which ones to go and turn on. So it's easy for us to just go, well, I just want the top one. Click on the top one on there. Remember, the save settings are still there. Icons change slightly rather than the little 3.5-inch blue disc that we used to have. We go into a slightly more modern dialog box on there. Windows 11 support. So Windows 11 means that we can have rounded corners and we can kind of drag solid edge around the screen. And we can even click the little button on there and decide, say, I want solid edge to be 2/3 of my screen, and then choose another app to go on there. So we've got the snap layout support on there. We can tell that with the little button on the corner showing that it supports the new layout options that we've got within Windows 11. Context toolbar. So there's new options in helpers on here. So we can see we've got this enable context toolbar fading effect. So it'll kind of fade the toolbar before it disappears. So if you hover back over it, it will then come back. So it allows you to see what's underneath it. And there's also an option to disable the context toolbar on right mouse click. So if that comes up and it's in the way, you can just right mouse click, and it will allow you to go and choose where you're going to go as well. We've also got the toolbar icons have also been improved. So similar to the general icons, they have improved the quality on those and increased the pixel sizes. So the size on screen isn't really going to be the same. They're just going to be clearer on the screen. That they're almost kind of bigger within the same space. So they're almost 30 by 30 with a 5mm white around the outside. Now they're 30 by 30 with less kind of white on the outside on there. Part context toolbar placement consistency. So there's now fixed positions for common commands like hide, show only, and delete across all the toolbars. So hide for single selection will always be in the bottom left. I have found if you select multiple items in assembly and choose hide, it then moves to the top left. But that does always do that. So once you get your head around that, that's fine. Context toolbar commands layout is based on frequency of usage. So they will kind of adjust based on how you use them. So if you go and use somebody else's machine in your office, it might not be exactly the same as yours. All the common ones will still be there. So we will still have edit definition, edit profile, dynamic edit. And then in part design, we will normally have go to within there as well, within one of those first ones. Shifted frequently used commands towards the left side just to make it a little bit easier. And context toolbar for rollback items. So so these are then going to show in there as well. So we're going to have the options that's we're gonna see those in the appropriate areas on there. Okay, assembly context toolbar, consistency as well. So same, we're going to have those in the same locations. So we're going to have those same options depending on what we select. So selecting a single component, we're going to have our delete over on the right. We're going to have our hide, edit assembly relationship, edit in place, open, and then the other ones are going to change based on what we've worked on there as well, based on that frequency of use. Enhancements in draft. So context toolbar, menu synchronization in the draft. So this is generated along with the right mouse button menu, just like the ordered part and assembly environment. Multiple dissimilar objects are going to appear in the draft environment, and they've created a common context toolbar for multiple dissimilar objects as well. So depending on what we select, we're going to see the same one. If we select something more complex, obviously we're going to see the more complex version on there. Discovery Center. So this is like normally when you open Solid Edge, until you click the little button to say always show open, this is what opens up. So this is going to be a lot more interactive. There's going to be a lot more going on in here. I haven't seen the final released version of this one yet. So there's going to be a lot more content. I will do an update on that once we get the final version of that. So find the video for that about a week after this one drops. Part modeling. Long awaited this one, synchronous pattern UI in ordered. So when we start a pattern command, we have got two options. We've got synchronous style, or if we want to go back to the old drawing the sketch style, we can click on this icon and that will make it work the way it always has. So if we want to go and draw our pattern manually, so decide a feature, draw the pattern, define everything, we can still do it that way. But this way allows us to quickly select a feature and define the pattern in a 3D orientation. So we don't have to switch to a sketch. This will still go and create the appropriate sketch pattern in the pattern command, but it just means it's much quicker on there. Once you've changed an option, the last used one will be remembered. So if you do the sketch one, every time you go in, that will be on there. But I think most people will find the new version much quicker on there. All the rest of the commands are on there, and we can go and see the elements that we've done, and we can choose them from the drop down as well if we've selected multiple elements to suppress, for instance. There will be a video on that very soon as well. Bend deduction allowance in sheet metal. So in our gauge properties tab, previously we only had neutral factor, and to do bend deduction or allowance, we probably would have done a bit of a workaround with GoldSeek. If you don't know how to do that, there is a video on my channel to that. So if you go and have a look, if you search GoldSeek on there, you should be able to find that out. So we've now got the options to go and support those. So bend deduction and bend allowance, and this is going to be controlled by an Excel table. So older engineering companies that did a lot of sheet metal would have always had this on the panel behind their screen, and then it would say whatever for a set material thickness, for a set angle, and a set radius, how much material we're going to take off for the flat pattern for each of those. So when we click on a bend, we can choose each bend. Obviously, we're going to choose the default. So if I just jump back to there, that's going to be the default one. But for each bend, we've now got the option where we can untick the default, choose what style we want for that specific feature, not the specific bend. So if you've got several bends at the same time, they will always be the same. So if you want to have different bend calculation methods for different bends, do them as separate features on there. This is supported in both ordered and synchronous. And it will also appear in the bend table in the draft. So if we go to the Tools tab and go to the bend table, we can see we'll have our calculation method. This will then appear in the draft as well on there. We can set that as a column. So quick enhancements. So Inquire element has now got a couple of more specific, or has got a couple specific to sheet metal. So when we click on bends, we've got a new option for bends. We can click on a bend, and it will give us the all the information about the bend, including the neutral factor, material thickness, calculation method, etc. So we can see this one has been locally overridden to be neutral factor. So it may be that generally that was being used with a different bend calculation method. And we can also go and do surfaces only. So here, if we go and select on this mesh body feature, that's going to show the full surface area on the mesh body feature, where we did not support mesh features before. So great for the reverse engineering stuff that we do as well. Etch support on bends. So etch support, if we did an etch on a bend, it wouldn't kind of wrap it round automatically. Now we don't need to worry about unbend, etch, rebend, which I remember not working brilliantly either, or not working at all, I think. But now we've got the option where it's just going to go and pop that around the bend. Okay, so that means we're then going to get our etch lovely on that part. Other kind of quick enhancements, so the etch command options are now remembered. Users last setting in the etch command will now be remembered for the next command execution. It applies to the selection filter and the etch options that we've done on there as well. So quite often when I'm etching, I change it to sketch, and I go and change it from blue to black or something, so we'll go and remember all of those options for us. So etch in a flat pattern. So previously etch was like an extruded surface, very like 0.1 mil or something along those lines. So now we've got the option to export the etch as a text box. So rather than having that as a surface, which not all systems could read, we've got the option to go and pop that as a text box instead. Wrap sketch improvements. So if we wrapped onto something quite complex, we would end up with a failure with a little dialog box, and we'd go and try another way on there. So we can see this has been done to improve the accuracy and reliability of results, enabling the creation of precise etches across bends and over surfaces as well on there. So it's kind of like it's gonna keep that it's gonna follow that as a normal surface and just keep wrapping round and round. So we can see wrapping around a closed loop has now improved on there as well. Part and sheet metal quick enhancements. So when we're doing rounds, there's a new selection mode called vertex. So if we click on a point, all the edges that are coming from that point or vertex are going to be selected. So by selecting like just several points, it's going to allow us to go and choose that, and that's going to do everything kind of on that face or coming away from that face by using that vertex command. Very nice little option. There'll be a video on that shortly as well. Synchronous copy and paste. So synchronous copy and paste, unless we selected the top surface, it would do this and it would fail on here. So now we can just select the edges and it will automatically go, I need that surface for that to copy and paste over to the other feature, and it will copy that automatically without having to go and select it. So again on here, we can see we're going and copying that across on there. If we just select the feature and don't select the top surface, we can end up with a failure, where in 2025 it's going to automatically recognize that and go, yep, I'm going to extend that surface to make sure that the copy now works on there. Okay, next is assembly modeling. So in assembly modeling, there's been a little addition for cursor tooltips. So we need to go into our Solid Edge Options General with an assembly open and go into the IntelliSketch options in the cursor section. Very small screenshot. Sorry, and then there's an option for show tooltip for key points if you want that. If you then start a sketch, and as we're kind of hovering over the options, it's going to show the edge of this item. It's going to show the midpoint, etc. So it's going to give us more information of what we're connecting to. If you've got several parts underneath your mouse, you want to make sure that you're connecting your sketch to the correct item when you're sketching an assembly. So this makes that much easier. Active filter in Pathfinder. So Pathfinder is our part navigator within the assembly environment. So now if we go and do a search, we can click the filter, and that is just going to show the items that have been highlighted by that search. We can obviously clear the search or turn the filter back off. Again, there'll be a video on that on this slide here. So if we go and search for bench, we can see we've got 6 items with bench, and we can use a filter, and that's just going to show those 6 items on there. If we turn the filter back off, it's going to go and bring all of those components back on there. Face style overrides and assembly. So now, long time waiting for this one, we can go and apply a face override to just a face in the assembly. Previously, we could only do a assembly override to an entire part. So now we can go and choose from the drop down at the top. So we can see the first screenshot on the left here is showing any, and then the second one, we can choose component body feature face is the new one, and any on there as well. Style picker. So there's also a new command in here called the style picker. So this allows us to go and pick a style from any part, sheet metal, subassembly item, and this will then allow us to go and add that style. That will then become the style in use, and we can go and apply that style to another component on there. Packed groups in Assembly Pathfinder. So if we've got several items that are the same, so you can see we've got these two arrow components, we've got this option where we can go and pack, and that's going to do similar to a group, and it's going to go and automatically search all those items and put those together, and it's going to tell us how many of those there are as well. So you can see that's going to show there's two arrows in that arrow group on there. There's also an option for pack all, if we see bottom left, and that's going to go and look for all similar items and go and pack all of those items up. There isn't an unpack button, but if you select all the packs, you can then choose unpack, and that will unpack them all. Synchronous pattern. I'm not going to go through this again, but it works exactly the same as it does in the part. So we can go and choose the item that we want, drag the profile that we want, input the count, the sizes. We can go and do our tab key, and we've got a very quick pattern on there. Creates it exactly the same way. It does create an assembly sketch the same as the other way, which is really nice. Relate point cloud to origin option. So those that do use point cloud, this will allow us to go and center the point clouds on the origin. Previously, the point cloud was always moved and centered to be centered around the origin. Turn this option off allows the PC to be the point cloud to be placed in its global scan position. So rather than just kind of like centered, it will show where it was, so we don't have to go and create the point cloud, go back, edit, change position, and go and add some sizes in there. Just gives us another option. This has been requested by quite a few customers. Okay, next, a very simple one. A lot of text for this one, but we've got this. So when we do an auto simplify, parts are kind of scaled down, moved, adjusted, or something, and we don't know whether they've changed. So if you then go and save that out as a step file, some kind of or parasolid or something, it's going to tell us now that simplified body has been adjusted due to the non-manifold condition. So if we've got two items that are touching but not connected, or something along those lines, it's going to go and tell us. It's going to give us some information and show exactly what that item has been changed, moved, etc. on there. Where previously we wouldn't get an error, we'd just think, oh yeah, it's fine, it's done it, but parts will have been adjusted to make sure we don't get that non-manifold or zero thickness condition as we know on there. Drawings. So there's been enhancements for the GD&T standard compliance. So surface texture symbol have been updated per ISO 21920-1 2021. Now these symbols will be easily accessible from the drop-down to comply with the updated ISO standard. We've also got the aligned movable datum target support. So we'll support the aligned movable datum target as per ISO 5459. These datum targets can also be added in drawings using retrieve dimensions and drawn view wizard options. Downstream support for NX, STEP, JT, DXF, DWG, and PDF, 3D PDF is also supported on those. Auto dimension in 3D PMI part and sheet metal. So location dimensions can be added to virtual intersections of adjacent faces of outer fillets and center points of inner fillets. So the part can be dimensioned WRT reference planes, which could be either base reference planes or manually created reference planes. These mutually perpendicular reference planes can be selected individually or in combination with model faces or auto dimensions. This has been really important where we've had rotated parts, such as gas seals or something along those lines, where there hasn't been an obvious datum on those. So the workaround was to create a surface which was then hidden. So this has now been fixed, so we can just go and use a reference planes. Makes life much easier for us. Hybrid annotations. We've got an option enables placement of dimension and feature control frame simultaneously. So within the smart dimension option, we've now got an additional option on there. It's also available in the distance between command. Dimension line can be connected to dimension or the feature control frame. The feature control frame save settings can be accessed using the drop-down list on there as well. We can see both the options on that screen there. Hybrid annotation, pulled out text support and downstream support on there as well. So it's supported for both pull-out text. So you can see in the images that we can go and move it away from the actual text lines on dimension lines on there as well. On there, these are also supported for our exported options, the same as the previous ones on here as well. Subscript addition to the feature control frame. So these have now been added, so we can go and add additional information on here. So if we want to have a feature control frame with additional, so there was an option to add these in 2024. We've now added this option for us to go and add these additional text. So notice on the left here, this is an additional text tab. Our general will be our normal one that we see, where we go and put our features, our references, our dividers, etc. And then we've got the additional text option that will allow us to go and decide which one is. Obviously suffix will control what's in there. And then this will go and allow us to go and create additional notes underneath. Notice these notes are just notes referred to by the dotted lines on there. Okay, so additional text information above, such as superscript, after suffix, the feature control being can be added. You've got preview support on there as well. Multi-line support for subscripts. Suffix rows will be enabled based on feature control frame information entered in the general tab, as I've just mentioned. Superscript and suffix information can be saved in the feature control frame save settings for later reuse, which is obviously again in the general tab, and this obviously supports those items. Okay, next is CAD Direct. So CAD Direct, IFC has been the push for 2025. IFC files can be imported as internal components in Solid Edge 2025. So the file filter is added in the open dialog box for IFC files. So when we choose IFC, we're now going to have the settings options to the left, which we can't see, but we know where it is, to the left of the little dialog box on there. And we've got the option where we can go create as internal components. That is a default setting because that's going to make everything open faster, and save as a single ISM file. We can always go and create those as real files later if we need to on there as well. We've also got scaling options, etc. on there. CAD Direct, we also have a freeze option. So previously we've had two options. We've had our CAD Direct break link. Now we've got this freeze. So this is going to kind of just say, don't tell me there's any kind of link to that item in there. Translation, position, orientation and scaling on IFC import. I've shown us that on the previous one. I've already talked about it, but we can see we've got those options when we go and bring those in. So if this has been saved as the wrong format, might be millimeters or meters or inches or something along those, we can go and scale those in as we go and bring that model in. STT data in JT. So this feature will enable users to carry STT data when a JT file is generated using Solid Edge. Users need to use the following options. Use precise geometry should be checked in the options dialog box up in the top right hand corner. And the SEPVTRN INI, which will be in the translators folder. If you don't know where that is, I'm sure a little search will show you where that is. It's in your program files, Siemens, preferences, translators. I think it's in there. And go and change that to 1 in that file for the generate STT data if you require that on the JT files that you are exporting. This is a big one for me. Import BIM properties from IFC files. This is both import and export. We'll cover the export in a minute. This feature will enable users to handle BIM, building information modeling properties, while opening an IFC file in Solid Edge. Previously, IFC files were supported, but we did not handle the important properties or metadata. Solid Edge 2025 onwards, users will be able to import, view, and modify the bin properties in Solid Edge. So when we open a IFC, we can choose the bin properties, and then when we go to our properties manager, or we'll see our bin properties, we'll see where that is in the right-click menu, similar to occurrence properties. We're about to go and see that, and we can see where that is on there. You can see it's just under the occurrence properties on there. We've also got, for saving out, we've got an option where we can go and classify our BIM components. So we can go and, so we do this from the assembly environment only, and we can go and decide exactly which files we want using our preferences, translators, BIM properties, exactly what I just mentioned it was earlier in the same folder. We can easily add, modify these in the Excel file. Users can also export these BIM properties while saving the file as a IFC. So you can go in there. It's actually quite good, the standard one that's been set up. So you probably only need some minor changes on there. We go and choose the items that we want, choose the type, choose the category, and then go and pop the appropriate values that we want in there. So that can then be read in Revit, which is probably where this file is going to be going. Licensing, only a little one on here. A big thing for me as a Solid user is getting the most value out of our Solid Edge. So by buying a base Solid Edge, a Classic or a Premium, and then adding on what you want in a for your team, you might have a team of 1, 2, you might have a team of 45. What we want to do is make sure that we can access as many different add-ons as possible. So rather than us buying 4 express routes, we can buy 25 tokens. And that will then allow us to access all sorts of different other features on there. So it allows us to do our simulations advanced if we want to do any thermal stuff, our advanced PMI, if we want to make our drawings easier, Generative Design Pro if we want to actually do some proper generative design with loads of settings. Are we getting any Ford or Jaguar or any other CAD data? We quite often find bringing Ford CAD data in via the appropriate translator is much better. Notice that the new ones are not backwards compatible, so only in 25 onwards. Okay, so as the new ones go on there, we can only do it forwards, not backwards on there. Okay, unless we make sure we've got the very latest MP. So we'll probably be Solid Edge 2024, MP9 or MP10 to allow us to do that. So that's the only way we can do that, is to make sure we're on the latest MP. Okay, thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, please comment and I will get back to you when I can. Thank you very much.